Hi folks, CodeTutor here and my name is Anil Deshpande. Welcome to the another video on Jetpack Compose. So far in the previous videos we have successfully implemented the list view, but of course in Kotlin and Jetpack Compose world it is implemented using LazyColumn. Now in this video we are going to level up on the LazyColumn. Let's address the first problem that we have here. That is, the image of the flag is loading on the UI thread. Image is a heavy resource, and if you have a very long list, then it is going to create a performance issue. So it is a bad practice to load the image on the UI thread. Now, what is the solution? The solution is to load it in the async mode. Well, what do I mean by that? That is, you can either use coroutines to do this so that you don't load the UI thread with this kind of work, or use some kind of a library to do this, which ultimately internally might be using the coroutines. If you are coming from the old pre-composable native Android development world, you might be already aware of what you would have done. You would have used libraries like Picasso or Glide to do this. But with Kotlin and composables, that is Jetpack Compose, we have another popular library called as Coil, and we will use that to accomplish the same thing that Picasso or Glide used to do. So let's get into a demo and see how this is done. So this is our old code that we have been developing over a period of time. The first thing that we have to do is we have to add the coil library to our application. So if I go here, build.gradle file, I have already done that. If you see the last line here, line number 68, once that is done, now let me go to country card and constraint layout. And here, instead of using this image, I have another composable that comes out of box with the coil, which is called as AsyncImage. So let me just comment it out and write AsyncImage. And if you see here, there are various options that you can work with. We will use one where we can pass the modifier and the model. So let's use the one which is model. Model is basically country info dot flag id, and then description, probably you can use country info dot common name. That is the content description that you would have passed in the content description. And then most likely it is going to have content scale as well. Yes, content scale. So content scale dot crop, which is similar to this particular attribute. And then let me just copy paste this. Because it is modifier, I can do this. And with this, I have a image that loads in the async mode. So I can basically now remove this. And now if I run this code, it works perfectly fine. And now this image is basically loading in the async mode. Not only that, the images would have got cached locally if you were using an API, and that is the reason why it will be much more performant. Right now we only have around 9 countries. You may not be able to see the difference in the performance, but if we have hundreds of countries, and if the data is coming from a API in a JSON format, then it makes much more sense to use this async image to accomplish this. So with this, we have solved the basic problem of loading the image. But now what we will do is we are going to once again level up our LazyColumn. Right now, if you go to the helper KT, we have this country list, and it is returning me a list of 9 countries which contains some values, and I'm using that to render this particular list. This is too less of a data to work with for the next set of concepts that we will be learning. For example, I want to discuss things like scaffold, how to use various options with the scaffold, how to modify the themes, all such things. So to be able to discuss that, I need much larger data, and that larger data is already here. If you go to the resource raw folder, I have this countries.json file. What does it contain? It basically contains huge JSON file. It contains lot of various attributes. So what I want to do is I want to parse this JSON file, create array out of this particular JSON file, and then use that array to load this particular lazy column. To save the time, I have already written this particular code. So if you go to the country info app GitHub repository and go to this branch called as parsing from JSON, it's already there. So we will use this particular code. I already have the code that I want. So now pay attention to what's happening here. If you go to my activity, that is main activity, it doesn't change much. It is still the lazy column countries, and what I have written here is a method called as get country list from JSON. So this is the line of code that is different from what you had seen in the earlier branch. So now if you go there, what does it do? It returns me a mutable list of country. Inside that we have got this get JSON string. So this is the function that I have written. I am calling this particular function here in this particular function. It basically loads the r.raw.countries, that is the JSON file, and converts it into a string. And once you get that particular string, you parse it. To parse this particular JSON string, I am using Kotlin's native JSON serialization library. If you are wondering what does it looks like, let me go to build.gradle file. This is the library that I am talking about, that is Kotlin-based serialization. You can use various other libraries that are already available, which will help you to pretty much do the same thing. There is Jackson, there is JSON, which were very popular in the Java world. You can definitely find the same libraries compatible with Kotlin, but I have started using this Kotlin serialization library because one, it is native to Kotlin and it converts the JSON object into Kotlin's native data class, and that makes it very easy to work with. What's the point of doing Kotlin programming if you are not using the native Kotlin libraries? So rather use this than anything else. So now this is the helper function that you get to decode the string and convert it into a JSON. That is JSON ignore, decode from string, mutable list, country. JSON string from raw is basically this string that you have got here. And now if you see here in the data, we have basically created various data classes, and we are basically parsing my JSON file into this country. And I'm sure you might be wondering, how did I come up with this particular data class? Serialization is a much deeper concept. So if you want a detailed walkthrough of how did I do this, please let me know in the comment section. I will make a separate video on this, but let's run this particular application and see what are we getting. So let me run this. It's the same application, just that now we are loading the data from the JSON, and here we have pretty huge data. It's not one or two countries. If I am correct, there are almost around 250 countries. So this is quite huge list. So what I suggest is you can check out this particular code, and whatever the remaining concepts that we will be exploring in the Jetpack composable videos, it will be on top of this particular branch. So stay tuned for the upcoming. That brings us to the end of this particular video. Don't forget to like, comment, share the video and subscribe to the channel. Take care. Bye.